Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive into this. If you've been paying any attention to the corporate world lately, you've probably noticed a massive, undeniable shift in how we work. Suddenly, it feels like companies everywhere are asking their teams to come back to the office for exactly 3 days a week. It literally feels like everyone just woke up and decided on this exact schedule all at once, right? Well, it's definitely not a coincidence. But honestly, it really makes you pause and think, why not 2? I mean, 2 days would give people tons of flexibility and keep those commuting costs incredibly low. Wouldn't that just be the ultimate employee perk after we spent years proving we can work remotely?
Or, on the flip side of the coin, why not 4? 4 days would absolutely give executives that bustling, energetic office environment they always seem to crave, while still, technically, offering a tiny bit of a long weekend vibe. So, why exactly 3 days? Why has 3 suddenly become the magic number across so many different industries? Well, as we're going to see throughout this explainer, the answer actually isn't based on some breakthrough scientific study on human productivity. No way. Instead, it is a very carefully calculated compromise between business needs, employee preferences, and the surprisingly massive impact of workplace economics. Let's unpack exactly how we arrived here. Section 1. The return to office dilemma. To really wrap our heads around this 3-day rule, we have to look back at the immediate post-pandemic landscape. Companies were standing at a massive logistical and cultural crossroads. They were facing an incredibly difficult question that would define their future. Should everyone return to the office full-time, or should they just stay completely remote forever? And this brilliantly illustrates why both extreme ends of the spectrum were fundamentally flawed. Fully remote work was comfortable, sure, but companies genuinely struggled with onboarding new hires, building company culture, facilitating informal learning, and driving spontaneous innovation. On the flip side, the old 5 days in office model was wildly unpopular with employees who had literally just spent years proving they could be highly productive from home, and it completely lacked the flexibility that modern workers basically demand now. Neither option worked perfectly. Businesses and employees were at a total stalemate. Section 2. Why 3 days? Companies desperately needed a middle ground. They needed a model that solved the cultural decay of fully remote work without triggering a mass resignation from demanding a full 5-day return. And that is exactly where macroeconomics and corporate compromise birthed the schedule we see today. Enter the 3-day compromise. It's a practical balance between business needs, employee preferences, and workplace economics. For organizations, it means managers finally get that vital, regular, face-to-face collaboration. Teams can reliably schedule meetings together in person. The offices remain active and vibrant without needing every single desk filled every single day. And crucially, employees get to keep a significant chunk of their hard-earned flexibility. It wasn't chosen because it's absolutely perfect, but because it balances those competing priorities beautifully. But there's another massive factor here: physical space. Imagine a hypothetical company with, say, 10,000 employees. If every single one of those people comes in 5 days a week, the company has to lease enough desks, enough parking, enough meeting rooms, and enough amenities for 10,000 people simultaneously. The real estate footprint required for that is absolutely astronomical. But with a 3-day hybrid model, attendance is spread across the week, reducing the office space needed without sacrificing that core collaboration. Suddenly, that 10,000-person company might only need space for 6,000 people on any given day. To put that into perspective, offices can operate far more efficiently, using space effectively and drastically cutting overhead costs, all while keeping teams connected.
Before we move ahead, facility management is evolving fast. Subscribe to stay future-ready and smash that like button if this video gave you a new perspective.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 3, Space and Schedule Challenges. Because while saving on real estate sounds fantastic on a spreadsheet, actually implementing a flexible 3-day schedule creates a whole new set of fascinating logistical hurdles for workplace teams and managers alike. When companies tell employees to pick their 3 days in the office, they almost universally choose the exact same ones: Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I mean, it's just human nature. Everyone wants to extend their weekend by working from home on Monday and Friday. The result? We see these massive midweek attendance peaks. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the massive headache this pattern creates for workplace teams. Midweek, you have incredibly busy offices, there is high demand for meeting rooms, people are literally fighting for desk space, and resources are strained to the max.
But on Mondays and Fridays, it's quiet, underutilized space. This peak and valley attendance completely disrupts that smooth efficiency we talked about earlier. And, we should briefly clarify that the 3-day rule isn't some absolute universal standard. Policies vary wildly based on industry, a person's specific role, company culture, business needs, and even customer requirements. A cloud software company has totally different workplace needs compared to a regional hospital or a manufacturing firm. Some absolutely need full-time attendance, some do just fine with 2. But for the massive chunk of the corporate world that landed on 3 days, the next challenge is where the real work begins.
Section 4. Managing for better collaboration. This is where we zoom in from the macroeconomics down to the micro level, which is really the core focus for us today, on how managers can actually use this 3-day setup to significantly improve their teams. Because having the policy is one thing, but executing it effectively is entirely different. I want to speak directly to the managers watching right now. If your employees spend their 3 days in the office just sitting on video calls from their desks, the office adds absolutely little to no value. In fact, it is immensely frustrating because they just spent an hour commuting to do exactly what they could have done at home in sweatpants. Just showing up for the sake of attendance defeats the entire purpose of the policy. Instead, your office days need to be fiercely protected for high-value collaboration. You want your teams together for dynamic brainstorming sessions, complex team meetings, dedicated mentoring, hands-on training, building those crucial interpersonal relationships, and solving complex problems that require immediate, real-time feedback. Solitary, heads-down tasks, those belong at home. The office is increasingly a place for collaboration rather than solitary work. So how do we actually make that happen? Well, here are the actionable steps managers and workplace teams must take to ensure the office becomes an effective tool rather than just a top-down mandate. Step 1, analyze your attendance data. You need to know when people are coming in. Step 2, aggressively coordinate team schedules so everyone is physically present on the very same days. Don't leave it to chance. And Step 3, intensely focus that in-office time on mentoring and problem solving. Structure the day so that when your team is together, they are genuinely interacting. It all really boils down to this. So the crucial point is, the number of days matters less than the quality of the time spent together. 3 days only works if those days are used intentionally. It represents a fantastic practical balance, helping organizations support employee preferences while totally maintaining business performance. But it relies completely on managers stepping up to facilitate meaningful interactions. If you just mandate attendance without curating the experience, the whole system falls flat. Which leaves us with one final, provocative thought to close out this explainer. Managers, how will you use your team's time next week? Are you going to let them come in and just stare at screens all day? Or are you going to intentionally plan your team's next in-office days to drive real, high-value collaboration? The magic isn't in the number 3. The magic is in what you actually do with it. Thanks for learning with me today, and I challenge you to make those office days count.